Hello, hello, hello,
Hey.
and welcome to the Rag Company DETALKSCAST. That's a little different than our main show, but that's what we do when we have a guest from the detailing industry. And as you may have noticed on the table here, it's a little dark, but it's not too dark down here because we've got BUFF-BRITEs. Let me turn on the light and you can actually see who we got here.
We got Tom Smith of BUFF-BRITE here. Tom,
Yes, sir.
hello. So, Tom and I go back a long time.
20
Literally,
plus.
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's a long
literally
time.
when I started detailing it, and Tom was, you're the guy on the truck, but you were an old detailer. I'm not gonna say old. You're not that old.
Like,
You're
wait
not
a
much
second,
older
that
than
sounds
me.
insulting.
Yeah,
A guy on a truck, you want to explain the guy on the truck.
So those of you guys that are in other states, sometimes they're called jobbers. They're guys that have a mobile shine shop, basically, and Tom does. That's what you did for the last 20 years.
Put myself and my wife through college doing that. Actually started when I was 14 years old at a Chevy dealership in eastern Idaho, and started there like everybody else. Wash a car, dry the car, and then they moved me up in about a week. Hey, we need you to shampoo. We need you to start buffing. So the detail world was a different place in 1980.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
I can imagine. Yeah, so for me, so then you did, you ran a detail shop, and your shop was right across the street from my elementary school.
you're
On State
dating-
Street.
You're really putting me out there.
Bringing you
Yeah.
back even farther. So
I'm
you
really
worked
not
at the
as old
dealer.
as-
You worked at the dealership.
Yes.
And then you, what'd you do after that?
So actually went to went to college. Went over to Idaho State, and it's BYU Idaho now, but it was Rick's College. Got a degree in hospital administration. Have not worked one day at that. My dad was a physician. I thought, okay, medicine. I don't like the blood and guts, but I do love the business side. So, but I just decided after putting myself and my wife through school detailing that I've always been a car guy.
Yeah.
And that's what feels like not working to me.
Yeah.
So by going out and doing every day, working on different things on cars, it just felt like fun. And I didn't care about the money. Still don't care about the money. It's about doing things that I enjoy and trying to improve things for the people around me. And that's what's important to me.
Yeah. So when did you start your first shop on your own, basically? Yeah.
So the way it all started, my wife and I were in school. I was working at a lumber company, and we went down to look at a car, and on a used car lot. And the guy asked me what I did for work, and I said, well, I do some detailing, and I work at Anderson Lumber. And they said, well, we got a couple cars that need detailed, and I'm like, sure. So I said, I'll be back after school when I get done with college for the day. My wife and I picked it up. We did the interior. It was a 240ZX.
Yeah. That's a cool car.
And it took us about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And we made like $30. We went, okay, this is the way to go. I'm done working for somebody else. I think minimum wage was $3.60 or something at the time, and I was making about $5.25. But making that much in 30 minutes felt like
king for a day.
And it was something I enjoyed doing.
Yeah.
So that's, to me, is what's important. So finished my degree. We had a shop. We opened up our own shop. We quit our other jobs and got involved in that shop. And we would get up at 4 in the morning and get on a bus to go to Idaho State University. And then we would get home at about 2 o'clock. We'd detail until about 7 o'clock. We'd do our homework until about 11, and then we'd get on the bus at 4 in the morning again. So it's the price you pay. But after all that, that I ended up doing what I love, which is the car industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then you you started that detail shop. You guys moved to Boise, built another detail shop, but then you took over a chemical route. Basically, there was some guys that were. Was there was a guy that had the route previous, or was that you just decided to start? Yeah,
what we did, so we started MVP Distributing back in 1991. At first it started, I had gotten sent some products by a company called Mark V. A guy named Tom Ford came along, and he's passed away now, but great guy, and he sent them to me. He said, you just got to try these. And I said, all right. So tried them out. And, well, actually, they sat on the shelf for 6 months. You know how it is to try something new in a detail shop. One day I was out of what I was using, and I said, okay, I got to grab this one thing, and it happened to be a product called Velour and Carpet. and I loved it. I'm like, oh my goodness. Well, as soon as you tried one, I had to try them all. So I started trying them and fell in love. So we became a distributor for that company. And in 91, that was actually in 80, probably 89 or 90.
Yep.
And then in 91, we started our route. And we've been doing that ever since. And I've enjoyed getting to know just amazing people in the industry, and watching an industry that when I got into it had nothing but wool pads, and I think I had like a 12 or 13 pound Milwaukee buffer when I started, and going from that to, I remember probably around 92 or so, foam pads started to come out, and they were horrible foam pads. They'd hop and skip and jump, but now we've gone through all those things to today, what we've got now, and the ceramics and the coatings. It's just a whole different industry.
Yeah, it really is. And like, so when you were on that truck, that was when I started in 98. And so that was when, you know, same thing. We only had a few different products. You basically had 3 or 4 different types of pads that you could choose from.
Yep.
There was rotaries. You could try a DA, but that didn't really make much sense unless you were
Porter
using
cable or something. Yeah.
Not even that. I think you could use the Cyclone.
Oh yeah,
polisher. But that was about it. And the Cyclone was something I was like, that's unattainable. I don't even know if I could ever afford that, or if a company would even want to use that.
Exactly.
But Tom, you were the guy that when Tom would come every week, you'd hang out, you'd spend 20, 30 minutes. Tom would always take the time to answer all my questions, show me something new, teach me how to use something. Or if I had a question, I'd call you. You'd always answer, and you'd walk me through it. And if I was still having a problem, it would go as far as Tom would invite me to you'd invite me over to your house, and we'd work on the problem together, and we'd figure something out. And that meant the most to me because I didn't have, like you, I didn't have anybody else I could draw info from. I had other guys that I worked with, but I was reading an article this is on a side note, I was reading an article in a mountain bike magazine about the myths of bikes and bike mechanics. And that's my other love, is building bikes and working on that. And so I was reading these myths, and I was thinking back to detailing myths that I had heard from guys that I had worked with. Other guys that, man, they probably, you know, their life was the bar all night and then the detail shop all day. Sometimes they never made it home. Sometimes they went to the bar and then just drove back to work the next morning, wearing the same clothes and stinking, you know. But they'd have these crazy ideas on how to clean a car, and I'd always be like, that's not right. Mm-hmm. And we didn't have the internet to check these myths out against or pull from. You didn't have an encyclopedia that you could go to and go like, let me go to the library and figure that out. I'm pretty sure a clay bar does not remove swirls.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it does.
Yeah.
And I imagine detailing literature was few and far between too.
It was, and Siri hadn't been born yet, so we couldn't ask Siri. But.
Yeah, but I had you to bounce questions off of, and you had your knowledge from the last, previous years prior to that.
I've been in the trenches. Yep.
Yeah, and you could, help me work through something, or if both of us didn't know, I had you to reach out to, but then you could go, you know what, I'm going to call this manufacturer. I'm going to ask these people that do it all day.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate you being you've been my mentor for the last 20 years. And that has had a ton for me in my career because I've had you to help facilitate that.
You pointed him in the right direction.
You did. Well, now I'm here. So thank you. But
and it's been fun to watch you grow in the business, because you've done a great job of just taking what I've taught you and we learned a lot of things together.
Yeah,
and
we did. There was at one point where it got to a point where I'd ask you a question, you're like, I don't know.
We're going to find out.
Yeah. But that's a mature response. That's so much better than somebody just going,
not going to lie to you.
I'm going to make up something on the spot right now, and here it comes. Yeah. And it's like, no, that's not helpful.
Yeah, and it did. And it was,
That's how those myths happen.
No, and 5 years ago, everything started changing. The detail industry was starting to change so fast. It's totally different now than it was.
I mean, the internet had been around for a little while, and there have been forums and stuff.
Yeah.
But something in the last 4 or 5 years has really just set it into overdrive. And now the industry is changing at a rapid pace.
Yeah.
You go to SEMA every year, and you just can't believe what what changes. So, I mean, some things stay the same, but it's neat because in the next 10 years, where are we going to be in the industry?
Right.
I mean, paints are changing, and we have to keep on top of all that stuff. And tools are changing, and what we can use and what we have available to us. I think product technologies in a lot of ways for your basic cleaners, some of them are going to stay a lot the same because basics are basics, but because silicones are always going to shine, and glass cleaners are always going to have alcohol in them and things like that. But the chemical compounds and the way things are made up, they are going to change to make the ease of application and the efficiency at which we are able to use things much better. So
Those seem like the two most important facets of any product to me that you can improve on over time is the efficiency and
or the amount that you're going to be using.
Absolutely.
Well, and
Concentrate it a little
that
more
ties
so
back
you're
to
using less.
efficiency.
Yeah.
If you're using less and you're getting it done faster, then all for it. The problem is you get a lot of folks who feel kind of the old school mindset, well, you have to use more. You don't have to use more.
No.
These newer products, but I don't believe in the newfangled tech and stuff, and it turns into that spiral, and you got to educate
it is an education thing.
Yeah.
A lot of the Opti products are excellent products, and they do require less to do the same job. But it's hard to get people to understand when you're kind of entrenched in what you've learned.
Yeah.
So it's a one product at a time thing, and teach and help them learn. And sometimes it's a little hard to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
And I don't have the time every week in my schedule to reinvent the wheel. So a little at a time, line upon line with what we're doing to help people understand what's going to work and what's going to help them out. Because at the end of the day, it's the finished product and how long it took you to get there. And that's what matters. And are you happy with it? And is the customer happy with it?
Right.
Yeah.
And
well,
go ahead.
He's actually probably the best person to ask. I mean, being somebody that's been in the industry so long and that has been selling a variety of different products, whether it be in your truck or, even back to your shop when you're distributing product. But for you, you've been basically selling to these old school guys, right? And you're having to convert them, daily.
I have to convert myself because I'm an old school
guy. But you've learned with the industry, and now these other people are learning as well. But how do you go about showing somebody this? Is it all demonstration? Is it all just kind of trust? Is it how do you build that?
It's kind of both because it is trust. The guys know when I've talked to them over the years, and when I tell them something, because I am not going to lie, I'm not going to fabricate, and I've told you before, I don't buy hype.
Yeah.
I am not a hype guy. When Levi first told me about a certain product that had ceramic and was telling me about it, and I said, dude, that sounds awesome, but I've seen a lot of things come and go.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I said, I'm excited, and I want to see it, but I'm not going to buy into the hype until I know. And I hope you respected that.
Oh, no, I knew, because you're...
If my name's going on
I learned a lot from you, so
we deal
for
with
me,
that
I
on a
had to
regular
do my own
basis,
stuff.
There are so many snake oil salesmen out there, and they will tell you whatever you want to hear. And this goes back to the 1800s. They'll tell you whatever you want to hear, and they don't care as long as they take your money. I need to see everybody every week. I need them to know that I am honest to a T.
You don't want to come back to an angry mob every week.
Absolutely. I want that. So when I walk in and say, this will do this, it's because I've tried it, and I know how it's going to do it, and I don't want them to come back to me the next week and say, no, it didn't do what you said.
And like I said, one of the things I talked about with you that I liked so much was when you were selling products on a day-to-day basis, the only other guy at the time was a guy who was just a salesman. He didn't know how to detail a car. He didn't know a makeup of a polish. He didn't know what could help it. And so when you'd buy a product from him, you'd call him and go, hey, this isn't working right. He'd show up and just read the instructions on the back of the bottle and go, well, did you try burnishing it? What? Well, it says to burnish to a shine, high gloss shine. Did you try that?
Excuse me, do you even know what that means, sir?
Okay, but it's still not, I'm getting it, it's gumming up in this and it's acting this way, and when I get it too hot, it's working this way. And he's like, that's weird. But with you, it was, well, here's a problem, let's figure it out, let's try this, let's try cold, let's do this, let's change this, let's slow the speed down, and let's see, oh, there we go, now it's starting to work. Okay, try it that way. And that goes back to, again, like you said,
I'm a rubber meets the road kind of guy.
I want to make sure that the customers want to buy from me because you can help them, you're trustworthy, and you know what you're talking about in that sense. And
detailers may be a lot of things, and a lot of guys look down on detailers. I call them all friends. I just go each week and visit my friends. That's all I'm doing when I go visit them. But they may be a lot of things, but they can sniff out a poser in a second.
Oh yeah.
Because some guy comes by and starts reading labels or starts saying something that just doesn't jive with their mind. They just shut him down and say, no, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And in our shop that we had here in Boise, we did over 120,000 cars, and I was polishing on. We had 2 people, one on each side, and I got to polish probably half of those cars, and that's a lot of cars. It's a lot of paint, and paints have changed. We went through from the single stage enamels up to the base clears that peeled like crazy, that nobody could do anything for, to the much better clears that we've got now. And now we're going into the ceramic clears and the different things that are happening now that we all have to learn about.
Yeah.
And we've got great chemical companies out there that are trying to learn that, but just the product alone doesn't mean anything if you can't make it do what they say you can make it do. So I'm big on testing and checking everything to make sure that when I hand it to somebody, it's got my stamp of approval. I've used this. I like this. This is, you have Amazon's choice. This is Tom's choice.
Yeah.
This is what I like and works
something.
for me.
So,
Yeah, I want that to be worth something. So I've spent, 27, 28 years building that rapport that people know that I've tried it and it works.
Yeah. So that goes back to this guy, the BUFF-BRITE.
Speaking of practicality and efficiency and
so one thing I've known about Tom, you are
you
always inventing in your mind. You're always working on something. You always have these ideas, and you've called me for years and gone, here's an idea. What do you think? Here's an idea. What do you think? And there are some where I will say, I'm like, well, there's this or that. And then there's other times where it's like, well, that's actually a really good idea. That's a great idea. Then that's how this guy came out. I mean, this is all you. You surprised me with this.
This is an awesome idea.
I think we were all surprised.
Yeah.
You're actually the first person I told about it.
I know.
And it was years ago when you were at Hawks Detail, and I said, dude, I've got an idea.
Yep.
And so here's what happened to bring this about. It says on the website, formed out of frustration, and polished to perfection through years of experience. So I was working out in my garage. I like to restore old cars, and I've had a lot of old cars.
You've done a lot of restorations.
A lot of restorations.
Tom's side gig for fun. You said this was your relaxation.
It's my therapy.
And your wife said you could keep doing it as long as you made money at it. You restored how many Camaros? 67 through 69 Camaros.
First gen Camaros, I've done 42. So
42 full restorations.
Yeah.
And then you bought them, fixed them up, sold them, and bought another one.
Some were partials, but at home I've got a lift, I've got sandblast cabinets, I've got all the stuff to do the job, and I don't enjoy every part of the full restoration, so I can rebuild a small block Chevy, but I don't enjoy it enough, so I send it to a guy who will do it and does it for cheaper than I could, and I enjoy painting. I've done it before, but I don't have the equipment and the booth, so I send that to a guy. But I tear them all apart, send them out to my metal guys, all the different things, and then they come back to me and I get to do what I find is therapy, and that's I have all the pieces apart, fenders off, doors off, everything, and I say, I love to build model cars as a kid.
Yeah, it's like a big model.
It's a big model. And I'm like, yeah.
It's a 1-to-1 scale model.
Yeah.
So that's what I would do.
And one of your Camaros is at the General Motors
GM Heritage Museum. It was bought by the owner of General Motors. Yeah.
Yep.
That's how you know he's good.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful car, and it was fun. And we're doing one right now that's going to be in SEMA this year.
Nice.
So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Another 69 Camaro, but this time it's got fuel-injected LS3, 6-speed, lots of neat stuff. But
healthy.
But again, that you've tinkered and you've got that mechanical knowledge and you're able to do this. And so then this guy came out.
Yeah. I love to fabricate. I love to take things that get into my mind. I'm a strange dude in a lot of ways. One of the weird ones that my wife and kids don't get is I never listen to the radio, not even talk radio. I'll drive 2 hours away to someplace, and I do nothing but listen to the road.
No.
And all I do when I listen to the road is think. And I think we miss a lot of meditation time in our lives.
Yeah.
So that gives me time to meditate and to think, and I'll come up with things, and I'll write them down beside me, and then I'll try and solve them and work them out. Whether it be a problem that I need to solve for a customer in the chemical industry or something like this. We all want to solve problems or help things in the industry we're in. And I have a passion for the industry that I'm in. I absolutely love the detailing field and anything to do with cars. So what happened is I had a black 69 Camaro I was working on, and I was polishing it, and right as I had it up in the corner of my shop, and I'd been did some color sanding and buffing, and I got to that last fender on this thing, and I was like, the light above me burned out. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to have to back this car out, get a ladder, then I'm going to have to go get a bulb over at Lowe's, and then I'm going to have to come back and put that in. I mean, it's going to take me hours. There's got to be another way to handle this. So I tried a little light set behind me. It didn't work. I tried to hold a flashlight basically at the same time and buff. That doesn't work. So you need 2 hands on a polisher to make it work. And this was about 4 years ago. And then I had this cheapo Harbor Freight piece of junk light, and I tried to hold it to the buffer while I did it. It didn't work. So I got man's second best friend, duct tape, and I duct taped it to the head of the buffer. And I put it right where I wanted it, and the light was still burnt out. And I went, I can see this better than I could with the lights on. Yeah. And then it got me thinking, and then I started looking at all the shops that I visit.
Yeah.
Everywhere we go, body shops, detail shops, dealerships, no one has good lighting. We all have great lighting from the top, and it's easy to make a hood look nice.
I had good lighting.
You did. Once again, you designed something. Yeah. You made your own wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, which worked excellent. We've got the headlamps, which they work well too. But still, you're away. Your headlamp's up here, and the paint's down here, and you're trying to move your head and look at it.
That's why I built this massive pony wall that could roll back and forth.
Yeah.
So my guys could see the sides of the car.
And it was beautiful.
But that was why I had it. But mine was huge. It wasn't mobile friendly.
It wasn't the size of this wall behind
it. I mean, it was 4 feet by 8 feet.
And it still had the one problem of when you were between the wall and the car, you created a shadow.
Exactly.
And you had to work to the side of you to make it happen. The flamethrower light solves that problem, just like I did by hooking that light on there with duct tape. And that's a redneck way to go, but it got it done. And so I went through 10 different prototypes to get to where we're at with this. All sorts of different contraptions, which none worked very well. And the one thing that works well is every buffer, whether it be a Rupes, a Makita, a DeWalt, they all have 2 mounting holes on the side of them. We've made this bracket. It's 50-52 aluminum. We've got a military grade dampener in here. We tried just regular rubber, but it would move too much. The vibration, and when that light's moving, it made you like seasick because it's vibrating all around. Yeah. So we needed a really good dampening system. We've got a light in here with a 2200 milliamp hour battery, 800 lumen light. It just puts to shame any other light that I've ever seen anybody able to polish with because you've got it right where you need it. You can articulate it up, down, you can move. You can do 2 of them if you want to. I've had guys that have put 2 on one side. I don't know that I recommend that.
I heard that double stacking someone did.
Anyways, it works extremely well because it puts all that light right where you need it. And like I said, in every shop I've been in, except for yours, and even yours, you had the problem with the spots. It had some spots, but it takes all that away. You have a light that shows every imperfection. So I brought this, and you can see this on the internet if you want to, but this is me and some guys standing to the side of a Tundra pickup, and it really doesn't look that bad. That's normal shop lighting.
Shop lighting, yeah.
Looks pretty good. Well, we turn on the flamethrower light, and you see that is horrid paint.
Yeah. And there's tons of guys that talk about that. I mean, one is the trick of photography, and
this is no trick.
But there'll be detailers that show. There's a lot of coating companies that require you take shots in full direct sunlight or have direct lighting so that you can see these kinds of scratches and stuff. And there's a lot of sneaky detailers that don't do that, and they just take these great shots, and they're like, look at my car. But you get up on it, and the car is,
They say it's like glass, and you realize, no, it's more like looking through a 10-year-old Tupperware lid where it's all scratched.
And there you go. And that's one of those myths that we could talk about is that on another episode. We'll do that. Is the angles of which you can see. But with that flamethrower light on your polisher, you're going to be all right. I was testing a coating recently, and in my garage at home, I've been working on my lighting and making sure I have good lighting, and I didn't see a high spot when it was in my garage.
Yep.
And I was pretty proud of my lighting in there. I pull it out in the sun, and I was like, yeah, it looks great, doesn't have a problem. Pulled up to church, getting the kids and wife out, all of a sudden, that angle, there was a high spot right there in the center of the hood, and I was so frustrated.
Yeah.
And when I got home, pulled in my garage, again, couldn't see it.
Yeah.
And I was so mad at myself. But again, if you have that right, you have to have the right lighting.
Absolutely.
And you have to have it from all angles.
Well, it's true of everything in life.
This provides it that greatest spot.
It's true of everything in life. I mean, other than maybe when you're showering, you probably shower in the dark and you get the job done. But other than that, maybe, I don't know. But for most things that require any technical, a mechanic is not gonna, he needs light to get his job done.
Yeah.
So we've known about it in other industries how much light helps. But this is one of those things when I show it to people, they're like, "Why didn't I think of that?"
Because it's one of those things, I guarantee you there's people watching like, oh, I could have thought of that. And it's like, yeah, but you didn't. And this guy did. And he's got a fully working, really, really good working, job here. And the thing that appeals to me about it is, yes, you could have a headlight and you could be looking and getting all the spots that you want to. And that's good. But to keep a constant monitor on your progress as you're going, this allows you to do that. Whereas with your headlight, it's obstructed by the polisher a little bit, and you're kind of looking ahead to where you're going. You don't necessarily have a constant contact with what you're actually doing. So you could use them in tandem. That's not a bad idea.
But Dane knows firsthand when I was doing that GT.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that GT 500.
Yeah.
Or the GT
you could have used one of these in there for sure.
That 65 GT 350, and I was laying on the ground for a couple hours, polishing the lower ends of the car, going around the bumper, the rear bumper, and I was doing all these areas, and I had to lay down, and I was wearing a headlamp, and I had to physically look where I wanted to go, and it was not comfortable. It was always a bad time.
Also, it starts to slip up your head if it's not on tight enough, but if it's too tight, then you're like, oh, my head's constrained. So this takes a lot of that away in terms of fatigue.
You're able to see that light at almost any angle and see where your progress is and see how you're working.
So and that's an efficiency thing,
it's one of those things where realistically it's awesome on its own, but in combination with other backlighting or in combination with a headlamp or however you want to do it, there's no reason why you shouldn't be getting almost perfect corrections if that's what you're going for.
Yeah, because there's nothing wrong with having other lights, but this is like the little secret key that really, really unlocks the potential of what you can do, and you don't have to reach for my light, do it again. Yeah. That whole thing.
Just to give you an idea, one thing you'll remember from your years of detailing is there's nothing worse than you think you've done a great job. You've done everything you can. Yeah. You back that car and you're like, are you serious? Look at all the scratches that I made.
Oh, no, and that was still, that was still, even with all the lighting we had in our shop, you'd pull out and you're like, oh my gosh.
Yep.
And pull it back in and we're finishing that corner or that quarter panel or whatever got missed. And it's bringing the guys going, all right, so why didn't you see that? Let's get in there and see. Yep. And it could have been just as simple as the guy hadn't charged his headlamp or didn't have the right batteries in it, and it was starting to die. Yep. And he just couldn't see it because it was so dim.
Yeah.
Sometimes they just need better towels.
Sometimes they need better towels.
That is very true.
But yeah, no, and being able to have that constant, just concentrated area like a surgeon, like you've got that spot,
Yep. It makes a difference.
It does, and it's not, and like you say, it's something you can use in conjunction.
Yeah.
If you're giving yourself, covering all your bases, you're just going to do a better job.
Yeah, I've had a lot of guys that have told me, I don't think I'd use it, or, I don't think I need it. And those are the guys that I just give one to and say, I'm not going to bill you for it. I'll just come back next week.
Yeah.
And I'll walk in and say, so what'd you think of the light? Do you want me to take it back? You can't have that back. No.
Yeah, they start using it. They like it.
Oh, well, they find that it's not just they like it, it's essential.
Yeah.
It just makes a difference completely in how things work. I mean, you wear glasses and you're used to having glasses.
Yeah.
If I took them away from you now and told you that it's the same thing for these guys, once they experience it, it's like putting it's like putting polishing glasses on. It improves everything.
Well, and a lot of guys, and sad to say, there are still a ton of guys who don't use light, period.
Yeah.
They still polish with and I'm not saying like you need a ton of polish or a ton of light, but you need to see what you're working on. And there was something you taught me when we were polishing was, you brought it up one day, and I remember it was like 15 years ago, and you said you almost see through the pad.
Yeah.
When you're polishing, and I was like, that's weird. And then I was teaching my guys, no, you see through the pad. I was teaching Tim the other day. We were cutting a hood out here in the studio.
He knows nothing about detailing.
And I was showing him how he was asking, how do you see what you're doing? And I was like, it's hard to explain, but I see through the pad.
Just tell them Yoda.
Yeah.
It's the Force.
Yeah.
And
And
it is almost like that, though, because once you buff for a while,
yeah,
you almost feel it.
Well,
It's almost like your hand is feeling that
You can see
paint.
through the pad, you see through the backing plate, you see through the compound or the product that's on the surface, and you can see your progress in the finish.
But if there's no light there to light it up in the
Right.
first place...
Exactly. You have to have that light. And so it surprises me that there are guys that are just now that have been detailing for well over a decade or 20 years, or some of these guys are 30 years in, and they have never used a light until recently.
Yeah.
And now they're going, oh my gosh, holy cow, look at that. Wow, check this out. And they're getting excited about it, which is, I think, is awesome because it means they're reinvigorating a passion in the sense of what they're doing. They've seen something, and now they're going, oh, I can get it better. I can do more. It's given them that ladder to climb, so to speak, in corrections.
Well, and just one thing to point out about this, what I kind of figured out as far as the way these operate, it seems like with your other lighting, that used to be your primary lighting, you could operate in a pitch black room and have this and still do a good job because at least you know exactly what you're doing. This becomes the new
the
primary.
section that you're working on.
So basically, regardless of your lighting situation, this could be the difference between a good and a bad job. But if you had this and whatever other lighting you have, that becomes supplemental. This is more of a primary than a supplemental.
Exactly.
So you could literally replace your whole lighting setup with this and come out looking clean. Whereas if you didn't have it, but you had a great lighting setup elsewhere, you could still do a great job if you have enough experience, you know what you're doing and stuff, but this takes away a lot of the guesswork, a lot of the, potential for pulling out in the sunlight and going, oh.
Well, over the years, I've seen a lot of things. I had two guys in Nampa, brothers that owned a shop, and I won't say the name of it. They're gone. They haven't been there in a long time, but I remember the first time I walked into that shop, it was a 2-bay shop, but it was, lengthwise, one in front of it, they'd stack them. And there was the door that opened up, and of course the smoke would billow out. It's like a Cheech and Chong movie. But the smoke would billow out, but you go inside of there. They had one single bulb and no windows.
Wow.
Whoa.
I mean...
it's almost like they planned that.
Yeah.
Are you sure
how they got
detailing?
anything done? I would have loved to walk into they're the first ones I thought of when I got this done. Can you imagine if I was able to walk into their shop?
Yeah.
And, I'd like to create a video in a dark room and polish a whole car with this.
They might still be in business. Well.
Yeah, they might. But it'd be fun to do a video and just polish a whole car in the dark with just this and see the result I get. It's something I'll have to try.
That's a good test.
Well, and like I said, there's still detailers to this day that they'll put really great lighting in their ceiling, but they still don't have side lighting. They still don't use headlamps. They still don't use, even tripods or mounted lights on the sides to get these angles, and they're not using the light as a reference point. It's that this allows them to not only enter the world of light, so to speak, get them going on, okay, now what else do I need to bring into this area to lighten area, to work. We had a detailer locally yesterday that she called and said, hey, I need a light. And we didn't have these ready yet, but she was in a situation where she went to a customer's garage to work on it, and their house didn't have enough lighting. She was outside working on it, but she was like, it's cold, it's starting to get windy, I need to pull it into their garage, I need light. And that's a situation where have one of these, like you're saying, it becomes the primary now. Rather than having to deal with what else you have. So
takes the guesswork out of it.
So one thing I want to talk about is let's talk about more of the construction of this and kind of how it's all fitted, because I know nobody's seen one up close yet. You've only seen them at this distance here. But so this bracket here, this arm, this is sturdy enough to pick up the polisher by. You could pick this up.
You can hang it.
You can hang it.
You can hang it. For people that are wanting to know.
Well, because that's like CNC'd aluminum or something, right? It's pretty tough.
It is. 50-52 aluminum. So if you want, when you're done for the day, let me turn this off. When you're done for the day, because that's another problem is we've had for years, guys will hang polishers like this.
On the shaft.
You end up breaking or it wears out your bearing because you put weight on that bearing. You end up breaking your backing plate or tweaking it. And it just isn't the best idea. Or you set them down, but they fall off of things, all that. Well, now you just put a hook on the wall and just hook that up, and it just hangs there, and it's very, very sturdy. It's not going anywhere. So.
Well, the way you chose to mount them in the first place is a really good, really tough spot to mount them, so it just makes sense. I'm sure that thought process went into it. When you're doing it, like, what's the strongest mounting point I could do in case I want to hang it too?
Yeah.
It is the strongest mounting point of what you'd consider, safe for the polisher and safe for everything else. And what's also really cool too is, if you are using like a Rupes like an ES, right? You're not using the Mark II model, right? You don't have this cool little rubber stop to set things on. If your polisher were to fall over on its side or something like that, you're not going to damage or scratch up, the polisher. I mean, not that maybe some people care about that, but it's going to hit the light first, and it's going to hold it up. And so
it's blinded Dane.
For anybody wondering, they work.
I didn't see it. So we've been since we've had these in the office. Every time we go to show somebody, we're
like, hey, look at this. We're like, ah!
They turn on the light, and that I think that's kind of funny. But and it's really cool too because maybe not on all polishers, maybe on most, you are able to mount two of them, on each side, to where you can go left to your right. You don't have to have it in a fixed position. No. And for people that are wondering, like, if this is intrusive, right? It'd be, if it's in the way, it's not in the way at all. It's
you talk about seeing through the pad, you can see through the light.
Well, I saw a comment when we were posting pictures and other friends of ours posting pictures of these on there. One person commented, was like, well, that scares me having something hanging off that far. And they were like,
what?
If you're using the polisher correctly, it's totally unobtrusive to everything you're doing.
How you saw me take that off. I mean, if you want, you can take that off at night and charge it and all that kind of stuff.
Because it is rechargeable, which makes it nice.
You can throw it in your pocket. You can go up to an interior and look over the interior. Toss it in your pocket. You can use it on the whole detail.
Yeah.
In fact, we're working on right now a headband, so you can actually take this and put it on your head.
Nice.
Yeah, and just transfer it to your head, and so it becomes a light for the full detail.
Yeah.
So
that's cool. That's a good idea.
So we should have that pretty soon here. We've been sourcing that out. So, but yeah, I mean, you can move it to the center of the light, center of the buffer here. You can move it to the outside. You can take this and move it up top. You'll need to retighten that with the key, but you can put this up here. You can put it over here. You can put this back here. I have people that are putting it back in the back. That's completely unobtrusive. If you're getting up, some guys buff with their line of vision right here. Some buff over here. I've run into a few that actually buff here or down here. Yeah. 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock and 3 to 6. Not very often, but they do exist out there. But you can articulate this and put it anywhere you want.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
And that's just crazy that it's so universal across all these different machines.
Yeah,
you think it would be limited to something, but it's not. And it's super cool seeing it on these Makitas here, seeing it on the Rupes, seeing it on the DeWalt.
Fits on the Flexes.
I'm picturing like a 12 and 6, so you got your north and south covered.
Well, let me show you one thing. I'll set this one down for a minute. But on the Rupes, I have a guy who last week did it a little bit differently. So he took his and he mounted it. And by the way, when I put them on the Rupes, I'll usually take them, because it's a strong enough aluminum, I'll just bend them just a little bit. I like that. I like to, because the Rupes goes in at an angle.
Kind of
so we need to take it and we just kind of flex it out there just a little bit, rather than having them both in there tight. So, but basically what he did is he put one across here, and these are tight. So, but he put one up here and got this down low, and I'll just put that.
Yeah, once they're in there, they're in there. They're not coming back out unless you try and make them come out.
Yeah, if you leave them really close right out to the edge here, that they're not going to be as tight. You need to get in there tight against the light. But anyways, and then he brought the other one back down around like this, and of course he left his straight.
Oh, very
So
cool.
it goes right underneath.
Yeah, and then he aimed that. Yeah, so he's getting both sides. And of course his weren't angled, but just works extremely well on. I'll stop blinding everybody here.
Yeah.
I'm getting the full dose over
We can
here.
go 12 hours. Well, I don't think we'll make 12 hours, but we'll make 6 hours easy with these lights if we need to. So
there's actually something I want to talk about. There's an Easter egg. There's a really cool little feature on these lights that I think is really fun and really cool.
I think I caught it at the end.
So So you have three different settings on this, right?
Yeah. So,
Okay. What are these settings here?
So you got high 800 lumens.
Okay.
You drop to 400 lumens.
400 lumens.
You got dance mode.
Dance mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, end of the day, right? You're about to head home. You want to,
or you got a good song on, and, you're just in the mood all of a sudden.
Break out those Napoleon Dynamite moves.
Yeah,
there you go.
exactly.
Yep.
Apologies to the epileptics in our audience.
That's something that Tom decided to leave into the light. And I think that's really fun, and just kind of
This is fun.
It doesn't have to always be so serious. I think that's really cool. It's a cool little feature.
Well, I mean, that's us, not serious. So
Not serious.
we like it.
Well, we just left it there. We could have had it taken out, but it wasn't necessary, and it was a lot of extra money, which we'd have to pass on to the product to take that out of that micro switch. So we left it there, but
it doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt anything, and like I said,
it.
it's kind of funny. But so when you get these items, you're going to get them in. They're going to be all packaged. You're going to get your mounting hardware that comes with it. You're going to get your recharging. You're going to get instructions. You're going to get an Allen key to tighten it down and put it where you need to have it. Of course, it's the same size Allen key that the Rupa already uses, so it's very easy to keep it tightened.
So if you have like one of those Swiss Army Allen key things, you could totally do
the
same as any other.
Usually the Rupa already has an Allen key mounted into it that
or
works.
if you have a lot of IKEA furniture sitting around,
or IKEA furniture probably fits.
Even the new Makita has an Allen key that is on the cord.
It's on the cord here.
Yeah, they store them on the cord, so it's right there. Just fire it up and you're ready to go.
And one of the cool things too is so they're USB rechargeable, which makes a big difference. But then it's also you can charge your phone.
Like a power
bank?
And I have a disclaimer in here.
Yeah.
I have a disclaimer because I know people, and people do crazy stuff. So I would not recommend that you have your rotary buffer here and you hook on your cord to your phone, put it in your pocket, and try and keep polishing.
No.
Yeah, because Tom and I always would swap stories of guys. I'm sure some of you guys have seen or heard or worked in shops where guys are using rotaries, and the damage that can be done when guys aren't paying attention. I had one of my guys get slapped in the face because he hit an antenna. The antenna, he wasn't paying attention. He caught an antenna and it whipped him right across both cheeks. He was on the hood of a truck buffing and it slapped him and he fell on the ground and he came back up.
He
looked
like
the Joker.
Serious
it looked like the Joker.
He had two big red marks across his face. And he was like, "Oh my gosh!" And you said you had a guy in your shop.
Well, I've had a couple different things. I had a guy in my shop, big guy. I mean, this guy's like 6'5", just a big guy and very soft-spoken, great guy. But anyways, I'm buffing across from him in my detail shop, and all of a sudden, I look up, and he's standing there with no shirt on. And I'm like, "What's going on, man?" And he's like, "Hey, boss, do you mind if I go home and get a new shirt?" Just calm. He said it just like that. I'm like, "What did you do?" And he said, "I caught my shirt with a buffer, and it just tore it off my shoulder. I mean, it had welts over his shoulders.
From detailer to Chippendales in 0.2 seconds.
No, and I've had guys who are buffing and they caught it. They got the pocket on their hoodie and they're just not paying attention. They're just in the zone, and all of a sudden it catches, wraps up, and will fully catch them and hold them.
Yeah,
well, it's not like they're moving 2 RPM. They're moving.
Yeah,
after I'd had 2 kids, I did the one. It caught my apron and it went right into the groin area. The groin area, and I wasn't. So I'm surprised I have the 2 more kids.
I got hit dead center in the head with my rotary once. It jumped and took off.
There's a whole podcast worth of horror stories.
It'd be kind of fun to do.
So don't attach your phone.
We'll bring you back for that. How about that?
Don't attach your phone to your light and try and recharge it that way.
Yeah. No.
Just saying, if you need to, at the end, you pull your light out and you throw it on your workbench for a bit.
And if you're using a couple of these, the other thing you can do, take them both off at once. You can charge one into the other, and then one into the wall. They'll charge simultaneous into each other.
Daisy chain.
But kind of a daisy chain thing. But I don't, I don't recommend that you do it. But if you want to try it, just remember I have a disclaimer here because I only say it because I know people are going to try it.
Yeah.
But I don't know that it's made for that. I have done it myself. But I just want to make sure if you call me and say you burn up your phone while you were daisy chaining with all this other stuff, don't come to me because I told you
That's
don't
not
do
on
it.
him. That's on you.
Yeah.
If you can just use this, if you can just manage to use this as a polisher light, all right, just follow the instructions, and I think you're gonna be fine, right? They have phone chargers for a reason.
Exactly.
I mean,
You can be unserious, just don't be stupid.
Exactly. And you can also, we've had guys that are using this because interiors are dark too, and some guys are using the rotary buffer, the buff brush, basically, and they'll hook it to the buffer and scrub the interiors. It's amazing how much different it is. Have that on there, put that rotary brush on there, and you can just see up in every corner, and they can scrub that down, and it does an awesome job. And it works on all the Rupes products as far as the little 3-inch. It works on the 5-inch. It works on I think just about everything they've got. Everything, Makita, DeWalt, Flex, all of them. I haven't found anything yet that we couldn't hook it to.
Yeah.
I think even the Harbor Freight ones work, although I haven't gone down to Harbor Freight and bought one. So
yeah, it's all right.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. Well, we're excited. I'm excited for you. I think this is a fun new product. It's neat to see that, and this is the next progression for you with MVP and doing this kind of stuff. Because now you got Connor, your son's in the truck.
Exactly.
Running it and doing the route.
Great guy, and I've taught him everything I know. And
Connor used to ride the trucks with you since he was like 12 years old.
Knows how it works.
11, 12 years old. He's now married and
been married 3 years almost, and he's a super, super nice guy. He loves the customers, loves dealing with the people. He has the same passion for it that he detailed himself for about 5 summers and put himself through college and stuff. So he's got hands-on experience. And like you said, he's been working with me since he was 8, actually. Yeah. So he's just a fun kid to have around and a hard worker and carries the same passion for the products and the passion for the customer that I have tried to always have. But like I said, this light is just, like I said, light came on for me. And I think when you have a good idea, you need to share it. Yeah. And sure, I'm hoping to make some money off of it, but more than anything, I'm hoping to make a mark on the industry that I love. Yeah. The industry that I care about, and I want something that when I'm dead and gone, which hopefully is a long ways away, that people are still saying, wow, you remember when we didn't have that? Yeah. Yeah. Because we say that about the things we have now, and I'm hoping that it creates a legacy that people understand. And it's it's a patented item that has got we stand behind it completely. We have a lifetime warranty on the actual thing itself, on the arm itself, and then we have replacement parts for the others. And I've actually got a couple other ideas brewing. Nice. So as these things, as we finish up our patents on them and get those going, we'll be adding those on to this same family of products. So we'll let you know when that happens. Cool. So look for more from BUFF-BRITE.
Awesome, man. So how do people find you?
Right.
So BUFF-BRITE.com. Or if you
it's
want,
right on there.
Yeah, it is. You can find us right on the side of the bracket.
Laser on there,
Yep. So go ahead and get a hold of it that way. Or if you just want to, the light's actually called the flamethrower. So if you want to find it that way, just go to buyflamethrower.com. Okay. And you can find it. And we're running a special right now for free shipping, and that won't be there always, but. But right now you can get
that.
Facebook
and Instagram as well, BUFF-BRITE.
Nice. Yep, BUFF-BRITE. It's BRITE, not IGHT. I just had to be different.
Yeah. Very cool. Awesome. Well, thanks, Tom, for coming on. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you guys for having me here.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
You bet.
And awesome, guys. Well, thanks for listening. And as always, Dane, you want to close it out?
Well, I guess that sums it up. So anyways, you can find us on iTunes and Shout Engine. And of course, as he said, go to BUFF-BRITE. And that's it. Till next time, this is DETALKSCAST.
We'll see you guys.
See ya.